All right, perfect. Well, as always, thanks so much for taking the time out of your mornings or evenings or afternoons. I can see people from all over Australia, actually, as well as from Ireland and the UK. So great to speak with everyone. Appreciate you taking the time. We're really excited about this release. It's called here the like training around reverse reconciliation. I think this is a super important view that you've now got that we haven't had up and like so many of our partners have been asking for an ability to see where there's line items inside their audit task or ConnectWise, which actually you could be potentially overbilling a client, and it's actually there's nothing referenceable from any of the vendors. And actually, every client that we've spoken to or shown this over the last week or so in production with their own data, there hasn't been one that we have not found a scenario or many in that nature. So when we go through this, you're more than welcome to have CloudOlive open if you do, and we can actually set a few things up as we're doing it on the fly. But in terms of an agenda for the next half an hour or so, we've got to a point now where it's probably not scalable for me to do all of the implementations and all of the support across the 20 countries that we operate in now. So we're super excited to welcome Brandy Ann. We will share her email address within this slide deck, but Brandy Ann's role is to ensure that our partners who have come on board with CloudOlive love what we do, have an easy feedback loop. She's based in the US, so now collectively we've nearly got a 24-hour sort of time capture, and we want to operate in your hours of work, really importantly. She actually came from a very large MSP in the US and a power user of CloudOlive, so has a really good foundational understanding of MSPs, big and small, and obviously knows what we do pretty well. So the latest new release, there's two elements that are we classed as major updates. The reverse rec that we'll spend most of our time on this call working through, and then an update to the reconciliation module in terms of a new UI, the most used part of our entire system, and we completely overhauled that, but the feedback's been really good. We'll spend a little bit of time to make sure that you're across the subtle changes and hopeful improvements that you're going to get out of it, and then a whole heap of other updates. Um, and then we'll go through how to get started with them. You've got access to everything, okay? So everything we go through today, if you're a partner of ours already, you've got access to it. And then we'll work through what to expect out of the next couple of updates and releases this quarter, and then the subsequent quarters towards the end of 2026. So welcoming Brandy Ann to the team. As I said, she worked for a 50-person MSP, got acquired by a very large 800-person MSP in the US, deep in the ConnectWise world. So has been working within ConnectWise for the last 12 years, and then had been working with CloudOlive for some time. Her role came to an end, and we jumped at the opportunity to bring her on board. And her very first week, she actually flew from Colorado down to Australia for our kickoff. So not a bad start. Um, cool. Everyone got me now? Hopefully we're all good. Just drop us a note if there's any other issues. Thanks for the update, Christoph and Roy. So what's in this one? We're going to jump into the product in a sec. Reverse rec and updated reconciliation interface. So in terms of the reverse reconciliation, MRR Insights, just as a reminder for those who perhaps don't use this as much as you should, it's a really, really powerful view. This is a list of every single recurring billing item that you have either in your audit task or within your ConnectWise across every agreement or contract. Okay, now you have nice filters that will just summarize exactly how many accounts we're billing, how many agreements or contracts we've got, et cetera, et cetera. It's literally ConnectWise or Auditar's data always. Now, what we've begun to do in this view, which if when adopted, can and should become a really integral part of your pre-billing process, because we're going to help you see things that are really, really hard to see. So just a couple of scenarios that we'll just run through. I mean, I would just note if there's any questions that you have, fire them into the chat. I'll do my best. I'm rolling solo here today, but I'll do my best to answer it on the fly, or we've got a Q&A session at the end. But just a few things, okay? So our MSP, we've got 24 clients. We have in total 193 line items that we bill on a monthly or annual basis, okay? If I wanted to filter on everything that I just want to see the revenue associated line. So if you're billing things and you're just simply tracking costs, our system will automatically pick up whether it is on the critical path, meaning there is revenue associated with it, or if we're simply tracking costs. You'll notice here it's not on what we class as the critical path. So if you're time poor and or you want to focus on getting the bills out the door for a couple of clients because they're the larger end of town, focusing in on just the critical path removes the reporting, or just removes anything that's associated with just tracking costs. Okay, they're important, of course, but they're not going to impact the revenue you can get. So one of the other toggles that we've added here is, and another capability is the ability to be able to flag or tag an account as what we class as a key account. So you'll see this little key icon here. So if you think about this, it's generally an 80-20 rule, right? There's 20% of your clients hold 80% of the revenue in a month, or you've got a client that's like, hey, I want my invoice earlier in the month, or there's something going on with a customer, a key account, like it's just a really important phase for an account to be going through. You might want to just treat them a little bit differently. So in this release, the key account here, you can set that up in the account section. So if I look for AAA, in this case, edit this, and I just slide this thing across here, that's just going to now, inside the MRR Insights, is just going to give me the ability to quickly filter on those accounts. So if I wanted to look at this very large account of ours, they have in total 16 lines. I just want to see the 14 that we're associated with right now. Here's the information. Okay, quickly see it. The other thing that you can now see in what we classed as the reverse reconciliation itself is in this field here, or in this column, is then going to indicate to us in which month within CloudOlive was this specific service out of our AutoTask or ConnectWise, when was it last seen from the vendor side? So if I just come into over here, okay, so my Kaseya vendor here. And this is where if you're sort of following along now and you've got CloudOlive open, if you go into one of the last known reconciliations that you did, we can do this sort of together as well. There's two steps that you want to do. So one is the reconciled or approved status. These also work as well. So in finance or invoice paid, any one of those four statuses is you telling us, hey, we've worked on this enough now. CloudOlive, don't really worry about updating anything else or pulling in new information. We're going to store it now so we can review it in 6 months' time. So if I've got it on reconciled, just click this guy here, which is the table refresh, and this will just ensure that all of the latest and greatest information is then published. So reconciled there or approved, whatever your process is now, and then sync here. And then inside the MRR Insights, this will begin to come to life. And this is available now for everyone. So yes to AutoTask, yes to ConnectWise. This is all in production already. So we've done that little step over on the reconciliation module. Now we can come in here and sort by reconciled, last reconciled here, okay? And you see all of the different data, all the different line items that have been reconciled. Where it becomes really, really quite interesting is if I wanted to do, say, we're just looking at Datto SaaS just then. So perhaps if you've got multiple services that are, the naming conventions are a little bit convoluted inside your AutoTask or ConnectWise, you may choose to actually select two or more. And you see this as a new user interface now. That would be one way. And then all of a sudden you can see here, anything that hasn't been reconciled is blank. So if I actually come over here, or the other side I can do it is filter by the vendor, sees everything here, which is good, but a problem that we have is it's just going to show things that have actually been filtered on. So the other approach we can go here is um, the Datto, it was SAS, wasn't it? Yeah. So do these two things here, come down here to when was it last reconciled? Here are all of my items that are one or two of those services here that we've got here. Any of those filters now that we've got, these are the items which potentially, one is that we're just billing it and we're like, and it's not in the vendor side. So probably the worst outcome is here's a security based or a backup based product that our customers believe that they're leveraging. We as the MSP of that end client, we actually don't have it deployed yet. That's one thing. Or we're just billing something that we potentially shouldn't be anymore, and it should have been switched off, and you're very simply just overbilling the customer. This reverse reconciliation is the first time that we've really been able to display this view in a really simple and meaningful way. And as I mentioned, the new update here with regards to this, like to be able to more easily see what's actually filtered, is something that we will deploy into other areas of the product because it sort of gives you a better idea of what's going on. Now you may go, hang on, but there's going to be some line items here that potentially we're not going to reconcile it every single month, right? So annual in Microsoft or domains or just there can be other reasons or even internal things that you might have. So we've got two options here. If I come across to the right, I can pass something till a specific month in the future. And what that will do is it's going to say, hey, any discrepancies or any errors that are there, I'm going to give you the chance and make it very easy to then pass on all of the things that you've essentially told us that we don't need to view right now. But come the 1st of March, if we're doing this year, because this is the 19th of March, it will then come back into the view and just flag to you, hey, I'm now part of this calculation. You've told me that you want to look at me again this time around. In terms of the source here, so everything starts as unspecified, so we can filter on that there. The second that a reconciliation is linked to a line item and sync through to here, it automatically becomes CloudOlive here. You're more than welcome to, right? It is a one by one at this stage, but if you go, do you know what? This line item comes in via an API. We trust that API, whatever it may be. You're more than welcome to override some of these things because our goal here is just to give you a very, very easy way to find information you need to act on straight away and get bills out the door. Very simple. That's what we want to try and help with. So the last bit I'd say pretty important part of this update is this is the first time that we've linked the reconciliation module directly into the MRR Insights module that we're looking at here. And over time, more and more and more capability will be rolled out here. But in doing this now, right, so we've seen this being able to be linked up. This toggle will have a side-by-side comparison of the ConnectWise or AutoTask count. It's going to have the vendor count, but you can then also see, oh, when did I last reconcile this? So this is green because it's the current month that we're looking at. If this was 1 month old, it's going to go into this amber sort of color. 2 months old, it goes into a red color. So anything beyond that, like that color coding, just to help you out there, anything beyond that, it typically is going to say, well, why haven't we reconciled that? That's going to be almost a flag for you to go, all right, I need to go and check why that is. Okay. So question there is, can you edit the source? Not at this stage, they are fixed, but if there's some others that would be useful, just shoot us an email, Christoph, and we'll see what we can do. Especially if it's, yeah, just give us some feedback on where there's some enhancements or improvements. Right now, that is not an editable field. Okay, cool. So I'll come back to the filter on these guys here, and I'm just going to pick on one to start off with. So if we see any of these vendors here that haven't been linked to something, okay, it could be so something like a John Hunter as an example down here. If we've got a Datto SaaS that we should expect to see, then it should be in this vendor data set, which we don't see anything for John Hunter. Come down here. Hey, did it drop off from last month? It's not in the warnings. So it immediately tells you that, hey, there's literally nothing here at all. With the reverse reconciliation, it does emphasize the importance even more so to make sure that all line items are indeed paired. So every vendor line item is indeed paired to a service. Okay, so if there's something that's flagging or left over or looking like it's unreconciled on one side, you can quickly pop back into the vendor, do that search. If everything's like if that number is at zero, meaning everything's paired, then the only indication is that either we need to deploy it via the vendor or we need to consider not billing the customer for that line item. Okay. Just while we're in here, one of the other smaller enhancements that came in this update was we've always had the ability to search for the services here. We now have that same capability on the contracts as well. Not sure what the names are here, but so if we were to look at, say, user groupings, especially if you've got quite a few, just a little bit smooth, a little bit quicker to get the data that you're after. The other key update that you can all see here, which is the overhaul to the interface. So if you recall, just a couple of weeks ago, the header was all blue. It was very uniform. The columns were not organized in a coherent, logical manner. And truth be told, for a very long time, we've been like, are there any columns we can remove? What data can we remove out of here? And every single data point that we've been like, maybe that. It's just like, no, we need that. We need to know if your margin's gone backwards from last month. We need to know the vendor unit cost. We need to and there's more things we do actually want to add in here over time, such as the unit sell price from the PSA, which is only in behind here. But that aside, right? So if you think about the different sections here, we have a mapping section, the unit counts, and then the cost and revenue and margin over here, and they're all color coded. So first box here, if we have anything that jumps out here to go, hey, what's this thing? Where is the unreconciled line? You know to take the action directly below in the corresponding coloring box directly below. So we go, here's my one unreconciled. Yep, need to go fix that. Cool. I'll link that up to this thing. Done. Cool. This is now at zero. I'll come back to the next box. We're at zero. Now we're over here. Oh, we're underbilling on things. We got 3 line items where we're not making money. Come down here directly below it. Click on that once. You find the 3 items that are costing us $500 at the moment. And then last but certainly not least is in the margins over here in the reds, generally speaking, if we want to find, oh, this is negative or what's going on here, we can quickly drill down here and sort to see if there's something that's going on that shouldn't be. And or, of course, a really, really important action column is I want to know whether vendor unit cost is different to to my auto task or ConnectWise service or edition, and then go through and fix those things. Okay. In the next update that will come out later this quarter, we'll have the ability to do bulk commits. So here we've got 4 errors and we've got 1 error down here. And I wanted to fix all of them in one go. We'll have the ability to do that. So, and we'll absolutely have the ability where we go, I just want to fix the underbilling initially, or I just want to fix the unit cost now. Those types of filters. And we were given some really good advice as well around if the sell price is zero, I don't even want to know about it. Just update the counts because it's just tracking costs. That's very logical. Those types of filters, if we had a bulk commit thing here, if there's any subtleties that you think would be worthwhile for us considering, again, just email me at adam@cloudolive.com. Would be really keen to hear just to make sure we build the right thing first time of asking. The last bit to just talk about very briefly here in the new UI is just so everyone's aware actually as well, if we edit So we got a couple of places. If we've got the note here, you can add yourself a note within this screen here, which is then just sticky per that vendor. So it's going to be visible here, as well as it's going to be visible as we saw in here. Okay, to get to that section, either edit where you do the file upload, or you can click here and you can go back into that. So one good example that we use really heavily is if we hard code costs into the calculations, rather than if the vendor file just doesn't have anything to do with, there's no unit costs, it's just counts. We would generally say, hey, we hard coded this 28th of Jan 2026, just as a reminder. So in 3 or 6 months' time, we just revisit that to make sure, hey, is there something that we need to like reduce our price because we've hit a new tier, or vice versa, our prices have increased. But there's always going to be a time where there are no unit costs whatsoever. So one of the things that we released in this update, so I've got this here, okay. When the total cost in the vendor is zero there, then there were many line items historically that all the monetary stuff, right? Everything to the right of the previous screen in the red, this toggle is automatically slid on to go, hey, I assume because there's zero costs, all we're telling you is the amount of revenue. This is all revenue, not really margin. So, hey, we're just going to hide this for you. You can always undo it, no problem. But because these are really a unit count driven vendor, if there's zero cost coming in, this will by default just help you focus in on the unit counts themselves over everything else. Okay. You also would have seen the new icons, right? So before there was nothing there, and you just had to remember that the middle column, the middle toggle was the important one. Now there's color coding, which at least hopefully just sort of sticks in your mind a little bit more. You'll notice here the pass and the hidden is also down here. So again, just a little bit more easy for you to go, hey, I'm just going to pass on this line. You know much more naturally that that's now going to just exist behind here for the month. Or if, of course, you've hidden something and you don't want it to come back each month, all of my lighter Microsoft, so we don't tie to users in our example, then they're just going to stay sticky in behind here. The underpinning of the capability, the workflows haven't really changed materially at all. We're hoping that this UI update really just helps you drive just quicker action and be able to just focus. And for new people, especially coming on to seeing the product, there's a lot of data there. We appreciate that. We hope that this makes it a little bit easier to both digest the information you're viewing and most importantly, take action on where you're missing out. All right, cool. So if there's any other questions that people potentially have on this update, one small change that came within the export actually that's worth talking about is for ConnectWise users. So for ConnectWise users, if you export this out now, it will have the account manager of the account of this customer, as well as the territory as well. So if you just give it a click, and bring that information out, to have the account manager, sorry, you will need to update the API access that we've got ever so slightly, just to be able to read that property. And for Autotask, I believe that the account manager is also deployed in this update as well. So the other piece, another bigger update, I suppose, for those who are using charges. So charges create in Autotask, they create products on the fly as charges. So one time, really good for Azure, really good for like telco related stuff or print. And for ConnectWise, they're just creating an edition with a start and an end date for whatever billing cycle you're telling it to. Prior to this release, any pushback on the charges that were happening, we were forcing it to be just the month that we're billing in. So now, because many of these things are actually in arrears, it's more like a bug, actually. It should have been done that way initially. We've also deployed a really nice update to the way in which invoice descriptions can be updated. So if you wanted to ever type something in here and push it in, or more likely, we're reading certain data and information from the vendor file, we can dynamically pull in information which would then push into the invoice description. So we're seeing either users or devices are a really good common scenario that we're finding, or even with regards to telco related services, having fewer line items inside the PSA, inside AudioTask or ConnectWise. So it's easier just to see and manage. And then CloudOlive actually computes that information and organizes it. So you might go, hey, it's £100 worth of cost, Mr. Customer, but here is the breakdown of the services that are sort of making that up. And we can do some really clever things with that. It was really well designed in the first iteration. We've since improved on this in this latest update. Cool. So coming back into what's on the horizon. So Marcos, thank you for the question. No is the answer. So the question there was, hey, I want to be able to click on this and then see that thing. Unfortunately, not. It still would be the same as finding all errors and then sort of looking for, in this case, an inactive or an expired agreement or contract in that case. Trust us when we say there's definitely a ticket for that. It's just a matter of getting around to doing that. But you will be pleased to know, I believe that um, actually, I'll come back to this slide actually in the last when there's a Q&A and stuff, and you can grab that. But there's Brandy Ann email, or if you would need to book in with us. So the next couple of releases later this quarter, the bulk commit. So bulk commit is going to have the ability to go, I've got 50 different errors that I need to fix. I want to elevate all of them into a pop-up and then deselect the things you don't want to push back. So we'll have the option to do unit counts, of course, the unit cost, the sell price, and also or the invoice description update. So it's almost like an incremental but important step before we go like almost full automation end to end. Okay. And we will always learn some subtleties that we're going to need to figure out before we choose to do the sort of that third box on the right there. Halo PSA integration sort of middle of this year, probably Q3 calendar year in terms of a release. And then direct API integrations. So we think that towards the middle of this year, a lot of the core capability and IP that we've needed to build to solve this very complex problem is now in the solution. It's about how do we make it more more incredible to use, easy to use, and just enhance the experience. So naturally connecting, and we already connect in with Microsoft Partner Center for managing NCE renewals and who's assigned to what licenses or unassigned, of course. So it makes a lot of sense for us to provide an option to link that over to the MRR Insights, which is effectively your AudioTask or ConnectWise. And then in the background, we can be updating things on a nightly basis. It makes sense to do that, right? So that would be anything Microsoft and or user base. You would have the option to be able to do that. We can do that now with an export and an import, but then like it makes sense for us to eventually link that across. The other key part that takes care of user-based billing, which accounts for a very large percentage of the revenue that our MSPs generally generate. The next one would naturally be RMMs and devices. So we've now got sandboxes for the four main RMM systems. That will be the other that we try to push and bring out before this year is out, certainly. And then there's a whole heap of smaller items that we're working on. The direct APIs is like a journey that we're going to begin. Like all the different vendors we plan on integrating in with over time, and then spinning up our own single API that you guys can build on top of. It's sort of the next phase of our company and journey with you all. So probably got 10 seconds left, everyone. We'll try to be respectful of everyone's time, but if you want to go through a training session with your own information and data, jump on and book a one-on-one with us, or you can see Brandy Ann's email there. I'll still be very, very involved with all of our clients. Yeah, I love it. So we need to stay as close as possible to what you're asking and what you need and the challenges you're facing. But just as we begin to scale and got clients all over the place now, Brandy Ann's going to help us sort of maintain the level of service we want to provide you. So we're right on the half an hour. If there's no more questions, I just want to say massive thank you for taking the time to join us. Please keep the feedback coming. Love everything, good, bad, or not so good. Love it. Just hit us up. We read everything, and we just want to build something really meaningful with you over the years to come. Have a good evening, day, afternoon, everyone here, and I'm sure we'll speak to all of you very soon.